Emancipation Proclamation was passed in 1863, why weren't you free until 1865?
Well, it took 2 years for the Civil War to end.
Oh, so you were free when the war ended?
Nah, not for 2 more months because Texas landowners wanted another harvest.
That's not cool.
Well, none of it was cool. But an army ship arrived on June 19th, 1865 and announced we were free. That's why we celebrate Juneteenth.
I am a slave and the home of the brave, a product of the triangular trade. Please pardon my ways if I'm nervous or the slightest bit skittish. In the presence of the Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch or British, they kept me in colonial chains. Tell me how to persuade them to chill or to save me, and still I'm a slave.
Juneteenth. It's a holiday often called the Black 4th of July. It's celebrated with cookouts, festivals, historical reenactments, and it's one of the most important days in African American history. Juneteenth celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. You see, the U.S. Declaration of Independence stated that all men were created equal, but this didn't apply to black slaves. The move to end slavery didn't happen until Abraham Lincoln issued a law in 1863, almost 100 years later. But the news took more than 2 years to reach all parts of the country. The state of Texas was the last to find out. On June 19, 1865, 250,000 slaves were freed in Texas, marking independence for all Americans.
Many of us are taught slavery came to an end with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. But for enslaved people in Texas, freedom didn't come until June 19, 1865. Known as Juneteenth, now we recognize it as a day to celebrate how far Black people have come and a reminder of how justice and freedom have been delayed for Black people in America. From Juneteenth onward, we begin to see how progress unfolds and barriers are built. Leading us to the height of Jim Crow, where Black Americans continue to be treated as second-class citizens a whole generation later. 100 years since Juneteenth, we reach a critical moment in American history, where a movement full of young Black voices so powerful comes together that it creates real change. What we know is that progress doesn't happen overnight. It ebbs and flows. It blossoms and grows. It takes the work of every generation to rise up and act. No matter how far it feels that we've come, there is still work left to be done. Like every generation before us, we must raise our voices in our streets and at the ballot box. We must be at the center of our political process. We must fight for a more free, just, and equal America. Until we achieve that America, our work continues on.
I don't think we're free in this country. For 100 years, you saw Black people menaced and targeted and lynched and beaten and brutalized. This history is deep and it's toxic. That idea of racial hierarchy and white supremacy, it persisted. I think we're burdened by this history. You are obligated to do something to address that, or you become part of the problem. truth is, justice will never come if we only do the things that are comfortable. More people have to be willing to do that uncomfortable, inconvenient thing that justice requires for things to get better. We don't have to fear fairness. We want freedom, freedom. We don't have to fear equality. We don't have to fear doing the right thing.